Are we live now? Because I don't see it on Twitch. Oh no, I see it now. Oh my god! I was waiting for the pop up, and I didn't. Oh, how long have we been live? Oh, oh my god! Why? Well, I'm loving the font. I'm digging the font for waking up. Did you change that for this episode? Oh,
How about now? Am I muted now? It's okay.
there we go.
Nobody needs to hear me. Sean can
No,
take the show. We have already
no.
proven that Sean can take the show. Sean is good with that, right?
In the rare situation where I need to, I can, but that is not optimal. That's like continuing to drive when the check engine light is on. I mean, yeah,
But
you
you
can
do that all the
probably.
time, Sean.
Yeah, that's true. The way to get rid of that light is just to put a little piece of tape over it. It's fine.
I sent you that video. Shut up. All right. So what he's referring to is like how to reset your check engine light. Is this guy putting a piece of tape over it and then coloring it with a black Sharpie. It was great.
Yeah,
So anyway, hello. Welcome to Waking Up. I am Anna, also known as Arugs. I am also known as the Dragon. You know what? I prefer
go by many names.
I do go by many names, but I don't know. I'm slowly easing out of Arugs, but because it's so much of my streaming life now, like 4 years, I've been Arugs. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm Arugs, Anna, the Dragon, whatever you want to call me. Just and with me is my co-host Sean, aka Pep Pep. He only has one name. He only has one nickname.
I kind of dropped the producer when I began participating in.
You did. You're no longer the
podcast.
producer. Just like it's fine.
I'm now the talent and the producer, which is too much of a mouthful.
Wait, are you talent? Wait.
I mean, mean.
Anyway, hello, welcome to Waking Up, and this is our podcast where we discuss our deconstruction from our. Hello, Eric. Me, I haven't seen you in a couple of minutes. Happy New Year to you as well. Yes, hi. So this is where we talk about our deconstruction from the church and a lot of trauma. How they're sort of intertwined, but not necessarily all like they're not mutually exclusive. So here is our disclaimer so that we can get this show on the road, because I know Sean's so excited about this episode.
Oh, yay.
So here on Waking Up, we are not here to bash anyone's faith or religion. We think faith and religion are beautiful things when done in an emotionally and mentally healthy manner. We are not healthcare professionals, as you can tell. We're not. Now, we have streamed with some healthcare professionals. We are just not those people. We are not certified. We are not in any way, shape, or form going to try to represent ourselves in that way. We are just two people who are working and openly discussing our mental health journey and healing. We are two trauma triscuits on the internet talking about some things. However, if you do need professional help, if you do need, don't know where to start and how to find professional help, we do have some information and resources that we can provide for you. If you are in the United States, I would like, because we have a couple of our overseas friends, but that we can help get you in touch with people who can provide that professional help. Everything we say on here is our own personal opinions, experiences, things that have been told to us, or things that we would just, it's our opinions. We're not medical advice. We're not a replacement for any type of thing. If you relate to us, if there's something that like, then great. Like if you, that's awesome. But I am not going to say that anything that we're trying here or that any advice or things that we're giving here is any type of professional advice, because we are not. Sean and I grew up in North Carolina in the United States, and that happens to be specifically the buckle of the Bible Belt, Billy Graham territory, and we both grew up Southern Baptist, which is a conservative evangelical denomination of the Christian faith. So, and it fucked us up. And here we are.
It shaped our lives. for many
Oh, is
years.
that how you're wanting it? It shaped our lives. Is that how you're
Shaped our
wanting to
lives.
represent
Yeah.
it? Okay, cool, 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 cool,
What
cool,
is
cool.
that shape though?
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's up to you, but I mean, what ifs? What
Yeah,
ifs?
yeah.
Whatever works for you.
All right.
Okay, Sean. See, now you can't just go, oh, I don't know what we're talking about. Hey, Sean, why don't you introduce, like, yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
Yeah, ever since you fell in love with Chat GPT, you're
You're
like,
just mad because it actually, like, you're just mad about that.
I know.
It's formulated
Yeah,
and baked you too into the trauma triscuits. I mean, you facts.
that's
That's
exactly
facts.
right. Little square hard gets
It's
shaped. Yeah, shaped is absolutely in quotation marks.
Pep. Remember our shovel conversation? He's like, tread lightly with the Chat GPT.
All right, so today's episode, we are talking saints and scapegoats, the church's favorite villains, because the church has so many of them. So we're going to dig into those villains and our villains and how they affected our lives and what they look like and why it's so easy to do it for people like me. Yeah,
What?
just gonna throw that out there. Yeah, right. I know
Okay.
it's a shocker, right?
Shocked.
Yeah. And
He's so
why?
nervous about this
I
episode
know
because this is something he struggles with a lot.
this is a struggle, and this is not a past struggle. This is a very present struggle. Everybody, take a moment to read the mug. Read the mug. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just need that on a sign behind your head. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Subtitles. Yeah, I get it.
Yes. So, yes, our discussion is, and honestly, this is something that I struggle with as well. I mean, it's what happens when this is. I didn't even realize how deeply entrenched it was in my upbringing and just due to the church because I didn't realize how deeply like everything was everything was a villain, and you learn how it just villainization and vilifying people and things. It just becomes such second nature, and it's just like with any type of trauma and unhealthy thinking. You don't realize that you're doing it. You don't realize it's an unhealthy thought pattern or an unhealthy behavior until you start to really do the work and start to unlearn a lot of things and unravel and deconstruct. And then all of a sudden you realize how often and how deep it is and entrenched in us.
Absolutely.
And the pastor obviously is super awkward. Disney and the chirp helped teach that.
They did.
Yes.
The what were the thing that I learned about what I've come to learn about why villains became why villains were so easy, why villains were why when we're growing up it is so easy to get into this mentality of seeing villains so easily is because villains were made very black and white for us. Oh, not again.
I literally just turned you up because you were too
You can
soft.
probably hear me, but my screen has done the thing that it did last week.
I can hear you. That was, I literally just tried to turn him up for you guys. I really did. I just was trying so that you could hear him better.
My screen did the same thing where it replaces yours with mine, and I can no longer hear you.
Oh.
So
I just tried to turn you up. I literally just was trying to turn you up so that people could hear you.
Okay. Oh, am I too quiet? Because I can turn myself up, but
well, I already turned you up now.
Okay. I'm hoping this doesn't happen too many times. It's a little frustrating.
Turn you up a little bit, or turn yourself up a little bit. I'm listening to this stream right now.
All right. How about now? Is it now better? Can you hear me now?
Okay, it's fine.
Okay, it's fine. All right.
Okay.
There we go. Let's see last. I don't know what's going on.
He's
all right.
Every time. Every
string together has been just not being nice to me. All right. So we learned villains were black and white. Villains were easy. It was easy to villainize or easy to find the villains because they were also always so black and white.
Okay, well, this was share a humorous example of a quote unquote church villain from your upbringing to set the tone.
A humorous? See, I was thinking
Harry Potter. Harry Potter, D&D. Oh my God,
Yes.
Santa. Like
Oh,
there's a number of, oh my God. Oh, short skirts. Like, come on. Like, come on.
well, I wasn't villainized for my short skirt, so um, anything, yeah, Harry Potter, absolutely. Harry Potter is villainized, and it's so, and they try so hard to make something that's should be innocent into something that is destroying the fabric of society.
Witches.
Which is,
Witches.
oh god, yeah.
Evil.
I mean,
Oh my God.
yes. Remember
Or-
remember Witch's Incantation, Carmen,
Oh,
that
I
kind of
know.
stuff,
I
right?
know. And like that shit was like, oh, everything was evil.
Every
Everything
Satan
was
was
a villain.
behind everything. You want to talk
Everything.
about the biggest villain? Satan was
Fun in
behind
general, right?
everything. Yeah, fun
Dancing,
was a villain.
dancing, cards,
Dancing.
tattoos. Like, come on, like villains and
That's
everything. And it was
that's
like there
true.
was
Everything
villain.
was,
They vilified everything.
yeah, it was a little, think looking back, it's like it's completely, it feels completely ridiculous because like everything was a villain. It was anything that they didn't like, anything that was new, anything that was different, anything they didn't understand was evil.
Right.
Was a villain. And then, they of course they begin, and then they begin pushing that. There's no nuance to it. It's straight, oh, it's a villain. It's Satan. Satan's in there. Satan's in
The young
everything.
girl's parents when they smile at a random stranger. Yeah. Like one of the, who are the villains in your church teachings growing up? This is one of them. But not just like things like Harry Potter and stuff. Like, who are the people, the types of people that were
Hmm.
like evil that you had to look out for? Because I was one of them. I was always that
Which
girl.
which aspect of you was the villain? Like,
No, I think the easier question is which one wasn't.
what was
Like,
it?
what
That's a good
aspect of me
point.
wasn't the villain?
What
Every
was
correction.
your redeeming quality? Was there one? Did
I
they
had
or
trauma. I had trauma. They could like I was like
they could fix you?
they could fix me. So like I was
Yeah.
very eager to like prove myself, but I was always the villain. Don't be like Anna. That was always like that was the thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
god.
Even though I was like youth leadership and I was like by the time I got older, I was
Yeah.
like leadership, youth leader, all these things. It was don't be like her. Because I was opinionated. Shock, I know.
What? I have a hard time
I was
seeing
too
that.
pretty. I was too pretty. I was
Shocker.
like, I know.
What? I don't
Gracious.
understand.
I don't understand how I became the bad guy. I just don't.
That no. I mean, it's those are all fantastic qualities that I can't. I don't know how how a bunch of conservative stick in the muds would ever see that as a problem.
Even I was like the youth leader. Oh yeah, and it was only because I was female. Because I was female and I was a natural leader, and I refused to. I took charge a lot, especially with the youth and the children and all this stuff. And I got away with it a little bit because woman's role is to take care of the kids and stuff. But when it came to like we would have like, you remember youth Sundays? Do you remember youth Sundays that happened like at once every 6 months? Like, did you
No,
guys
no.
ever
What
do
was
that?
what was your describe it?
What, like the youth would take over, we would sing in the choir, we would do the sermons, we would do all of that stuff.
No, we
Like the
didn't have
youth
that.
were in charge. Oh yeah. So youth Sunday. So I was like, there was one, I remember one where I was like, I have this great idea. Like, cause I was trying to be a teacher. Like I went to school for education and I was like, I have this great idea. And they're like, well, you can't do it. I was like, what? Why not? They're like, because you're a woman and you can't be lead. I was like, you're female. And I was like, that's stupid.
Yeah, exactly. You pointed out the flaws. You point out the stupidity, the ridiculousness of it. Like, yeah,
Yeah. So,
because
but yeah.
absolutely. So, yeah. One. Okay. So going off of that, Eve is a big villain for a lot of people, a
Let's
lot of
start before
churches.
Eve. Let's start with Lilith. I've already
Lilith.
gone
Oh
off about
yes, you
this.
could go.
I've already
Yeah.
gone off about this. Let me talk. Let me start with you. Do you notice that yes, there are villains, but 9 times out of 10 there is like Ruth, but there was always a
Hmm.
good woman and a bad woman. There was always the
Hmm.
duality of women. If you go back and look, you go back like all of these things, like and you know who gets a bad rap? Who gets a motherfucking bad rap? Lot's wife. Lot's fucking wife. Okay,
Yes,
so
you're
let's talk
right.
about Lot's wife. If you don't know, there's like, and it's like it permeates actually into popular culture. Lot's
Hmm.
wife is like the don't do it, don't look back, don't do things because Sodom and Gomorrah was getting burned to the ground because of its evil and it's all this bullshit. And so
Hmm.
like they like Lot said and God said, do not look back, just keep going forward, just don't look back. And that was always the thing. Is that was the always the example is don't look back like Lot's wife. Don't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What the fuck? What the fuck? That is just teaching you is to not. He's like she is like just trust in God blindly and trust your God and husband and just don't look back. That's horseshit. She was
Yep.
looking back on her hometown. Like you're
How do
gonna
you
look
not?
back,
Yeah.
right? You raised your
Yeah.
kids there, you birthed your kids there, you grew up there, you're all these things, but you're being told no, you got to leave and don't look back. Don't do those things. What
Hmm.
what?
And see, and what's crazy? It wasn't like she looked back and so something minor happened. She looked back and boom, pillar salt. Like it was devastating, completely detrimental. Like kind of seems a little out of proportion for what she did, which pretty much sets the tone, doesn't it? It's it's ridiculous. How could someone read that or interpret that and go, yeah, God's a loving God, pillar of salt.
But if you know your history, I'm going to be nerdy right here.
Uh
Salt
huh.
was actually very valuable. That is why they say worth your weight in salt, is because
Hmm.
they back then that's how you actually used to pay Roman soldiers' salaries is via salt.
So she was worth more as a pillar of salt than as a human.
I mean,
I
it's
mean, I
got to
guess you
go.
could have. I guess she seasoned everything.
I mean, nothing to see here, just your
Yeah,
home getting
just her
returned.
home.
Chris, right?
Right.
It's very much don't acknowledge. I think the thing that as I'm healing, don't acknowledge the feelings that you have. Just keep going forward.
Hmm.
Just leave all of that behind you. Just ignore it. Don't deal with it. Don't do it. Just keep
Yeah.
trust that God has a way for. Yes. Do you need to look forward? Yes. Do you need to work? Do you need to dwell on the past? No. But the only way to heal and not repeat your mistakes is to look at why the shit's happening.
Hmm. It was used to illustrate weakness because you look at Eve and Eve was weak because of the fruit. Lot's wife was weak. She looked back. It's used to portray that there's a weaker sex. So it's the identity politics. It's I'm going
You
to
want to
use
know
this
who the
story and
weaker
interpret
sex
it.
was? Really, really think about this. The
Hmm.
weaker sex was Adam. Adam was like, ooh, boobs, let's eat the apple. Like, come on. It didn't
I mean,
take anything for her. She's like, hey, had this fruit. It's really good. He's like, okay. Like, he was like, he
you want
couldn't
to eat an
handle.
apple? Sure.
He's like, he couldn't handle Lilith because she stood up to him. Who really is the goddamn weaker sex here? Please, please, please tell me.
I mean, it's a valid point. Valid point.
But
Oh.
it's like, why do you think churches need villains in their narratives? Why do you
See,
think that?
because they need a focal point for hate, for anger and fear. Um, are some of the most cohesive elements for a group, and that's a lot of what I was taught as a kid is you hate this, you're angry towards this, you fear this. This is a villain. It gives people a focal point to channel everything that they think is wrong. And so it's a great way to coalesce the group is to create a villain. You create a villain and people can go, there's your problem. And because I think that's what we tend, that's what that's where I learned it from is if I'm angry, if I have emotions and I don't know how to process my own emotions, give me a villain I make a villain and it becomes right? Yeah. It becomes easy. I can then deal with my emotions by channeling that anger towards that villain. Whether or not they're not actually a villain, they become a villain in my story.
Cough, tiny mustache cough. And Paragon says, if a hero, church in this case, doesn't have a villain, then the hero loses importance and stance. I think,
Right.
absolutely, absolutely. I think it's so much easier to have, like, you have to have the villain.
Mhm.
It,
You have
it's,
to have a foil.
huh?
You have to have the foil. You have to have that because it's like what Paragon's saying. If you have a hero, it's important to have a villain. Otherwise, what's the point of a hero? How are you a hero if you don't have a villain? So you have to. So you got Jesus and Satan. You're God and Satan. You need Satan in order to illustrate God and His goodness.
But that's not. But that's not. I mean, yes, the church does. The church use
Mhm.
it like as a teaching point. Yes, but I am also going to point out that is also in secular like literature, movies.
Mhm.
Everybody has to be. There has to be a bad guy, the winner and a loser. There has to be winners and losers. Everything has to be black and white. And what do they say? History is written by the winners. Like you don't there's like I could go down a freaking rabbit hole
Mhm.
of the what if it's a whole thing. That's a whole thing. Like
Mhm.
it's just a dude who isn't in it. So yes, and well, it's not even that. The hero is it's one of those I'm learning in mine is it's not about a winner and a loser. It's two people. It's two causes. It's two things who both believe very strongly, and they may oppose each other, but but it's just human nature, in just in general. We need something. We need somebody bad to justify our what we perceive as our good.
Yes. What's interesting about growing up in the church is you said there needs to be an opposing force. Growing up in the church, I learned a villain doesn't have to be an active participant in the story. In my If I make a villain, that doesn't have to be an active participant. They don't have to be opposing me. All they're doing is living their life, and I have created them into a villain. They don't oppose me. I am opposing them, and I'm creating a framework, creating a story about it. They're not actually an active, willing participant in that story or in their
I
side of
was
it.
the villain in your
You
marriage.
were,
I
you
was
were,
the
yes,
villain in
you
your
were.
marriage. We had not been speaking for like 10 years.
Hmm.
I've lived my life.
You
I
were you
got
were the
married.
scapegoat. You were the scapegoat in
I
in
was.
my marriage.
Which I find it just totally bizarre because like we hadn't spoken in 10 years and yet I'm still getting I'm like when you told me that I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I was living my life. I was married, having kids. I was just going about
Hmm.
my day.
Yeah.
I didn't think
Exactly.
about y'all. I,
Mm-mm.
but apparently she's not about me. Apparently I'm just like this. I'm like Satan. I don't know. If I had $1 for every time somebody said I was Satan or I was the problem or I was the reason that things
Mhm.
went bad, I could pay my rent.
Mhm.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's what I struggle with. That aspect is what I struggle with so much. Is it's not like me and someone are even actively butting heads. I learned to create a villain in order to channel what I felt, in order to deal with my uncomfortable emotions. Like if I felt something that I didn't want to process, if I turned that into anger, remember we talked about anger being a secondary emotion. If I turn that uncomfortable emotion into anger and then funnel it at someone, I could deal with it. I wouldn't even say I could process it because I really wasn't. I wasn't actually
Right.
processing the uncomfortable. I was just channeling in an unhealthy way. Um,
I also think it's one of those we don't want to take accountability. We don't want to take. I think that
Yeah.
that's I for me vilifying somebody when I am in a situation where I don't want to take accountability. I don't
Hmm.
want to take, so it's like they're the reason that this happened to me. They're the
Yes.
reason. They're that, because
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, I was taught that in the church.
Yes.
Satan is the one doing this. I would be good if Satan wasn't bad. I would be good if Eve hadn't somebody else was always at fault. So in that turn, I was taught to vilify other people, to absolve myself of the choices that I made. And I think that that's a very difficult thing for me right now, especially with like a lot of big major choices or things that I choose to do. And it's so easy for me to go, well, if they did X, Y, and Z, I would do this. And I have to really force myself to go, okay, they're not the villain. And I literally have to tell myself they're not the villain.
Hmm.
They are a person making their choices, and I have to take accountability for my choices, as uncomfortable as that is. And
Hmm.
that's so hard because, again, like when I was
Hmm.
talking about at the beginning of this episode, where you don't realize just how naturally you would go, if they would do this, everything would be fine.
Or if they hadn't done this, or
Right.
yeah.
But the
Hmm.
reality is that I is just as much involved. I made choices.
Hmm.
I acted upon things, and I have to take responsibility for that.
It's,
Did they probably do bad things? Maybe. I'm not saying that there are people that don't do bad things. What I'm also saying is that I also have responsibility on how I approach that and
hmm.
how I react to that.
The other person is making the best choices for themselves. And when that is different than what I expected, what I wanted, what I hoped would occur, instead of just processing that, oh, I feel, I'm upset. I'm upset that the plans changed. I'm upset that they made this choice. Instead of just processing that emotion and going, okay, I feel upset. It's okay for me to feel upset. Instead, I go, well, they did this because, or I feel this way if they hadn't, and then I get angry at the other person for the choice they made. And when I say they, a lot of times I'm talking about you because it's happened a lot. I am working on it really, really hard.
As much as Sean loves me, he loves to make me the villain in his
I
story.
I I do. I
And
yeah.
I get angry about it. I do get angry about it, and we have
Mhm.
often very deep discussions about it. Going, are you fucking kidding me? Like that's the question we have. But
Yeah.
uh, then he loses his legs for putting out the elephant in the room.
Mhm.
We do try to talk, and he does it, but that it's hard. It's hard for me because that's also it is because Sean is the golden child and I am the the black sheep, the scapegoat. I am the scapegoat. And I was that way in my family. I was that way in the church. I was that way growing up. Because we were this dynamic, that dynamic is very, very easy for us to slip into. It's so easy for us to slip into. Whereas he makes me the villain and I like sit here and go, what are you talking about? And doing all these things. And so in our healing process, we're actually having to change our dynamic because of that. And it's not easy. Y'all don't see half the shit that
It
we
is
talk about offline. All y'all
it is not. Like
is really hard.
I have to constantly remind myself, and I'll say it out loud, you did nothing wrong. The the feeling that I'm feeling, what's going on through my head, this is me attempting to deal with in an unhealthy way this what I'm feeling. You have done nothing wrong. I'm still struggling to not create a villain.
Right.
And because you've been scapegoated, like I have to make sure that, and I have to tell myself that a lot. You did nothing wrong. No one did anything wrong. This person, this is me. This is what I'm going through. This is what I'm working through. What I'm trying to process. This is part of my journey. The other person is making the best choices they can for themselves. Um, and that was a I think that one of the hardest discoveries for that. One was you, and the other was my ex. Honestly, the villainizing of my ex was a massive part of me through the marriage and after the marriage.
Um, I mean, But I mean, we're working on it. Like it is. I am not saying that I accept it. I am not saying that because we definitely have fights when it happens. But yeah, but it is not something that is deterring our relationship. It is just something that we are working on. But Eric brought up a really great thing, and I really wanted to point this out. He says, all right, all Satan did in Genesis was say, they're sure mouth-watering them fruits, I will if you will. Okay, so Satan got made the villain. Eve got made the villain, right? Right? Why did God, I always wondered this, why did God put the tree there in the first place? Why? So if you really step back, if you exactly, if you zoom out, as my therapist would say, you zoom out and look at the big picture. If God was a God of mercy and he was providing this thing of paradise and everything and just gave everything, why would you put that in there? Why would you go, it is entrapment. It's manipulation. It's emotional and mental manipulation and control.
It is, absolutely, yes. The manipulation, absolutely. The thought that I just had was, we've talked about, we've compared a relationship with God to a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
It's like it's like one partner testing the other partner to see how. Yeah, that's why I was like, oh, it hit me while you're that's
moment.
That's what it was. That's what God was like. God was like, if you love me, you wouldn't do that. If you love me, then you listen. Yeah, that's exactly what God was doing. Why did he have to do that? Why? Because he wanted us to have free will? I mean, we could have still had free will without you putting the thing that we weren't supposed to touch right in front of us.
Right. It's like knowing, it's like, hey, I'm going to tell my friend to flirt with you and flirt with you hardcore. Yes. And I'm going to put you in all of these tempting situations to see. And then when you do the thing that I repeatedly pushed you into, then I'm going to get mad and punish you. The fuck? Now tell me who the villain is in that story. Because tell me, if you really zoom out and do the thing where somebody finally goes, well, she keeps letting you in this situation. She wouldn't be like, she keeps dropping the hints that, it's okay if you find them attractive, because that's what it is. It's like, it's okay. And so that Satan is that friend that's just like logical and going, well, it obviously... Like, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but it just seems to me like she seems okay with it. Like, because you probably just said, hey, she's hitting on me and all this stuff. It's like, oh, that's just what she just ignore it. It's fine. It's just knowing without actually addressing it. Like, so who's the villain? Who's the villain?
That's a good point. Yeah.
But no, it's Satan for actually talking logic and saying, hey, it's here. You should have made a better choice.
You wouldn't do that if you love me. Why'd you put it in front? Why'd you put it in my face? Yeah.
You wouldn't have put it there if you didn't want to. Like what?
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's not that's not a healthy relationship. That's not how you start. No, don't do that.
It's purposely putting putting yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they became ashamed. Okay. All right. Sure.
Yeah.
Satan did put it there. He didn't eat it, but it's all his fault.
Are you saying that Satan put it there? Because I don't know if there's any data, any evidence to say that Satan put it there. Also, the Bible never calls the serpent Satan. That's been developed over time.
Plain gaslighting, right?
There it is.
Okay, so speaking of religious,
there you go. That changes.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Satan didn't put it there. He didn't need it, but it's all his fault.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly.
Satan is the scapegoat. Satan is the scapegoat for a lot of shit that God did. Also, think about Job. Job.
Oh God, yes.
Job's God's like, this is my holiest person, and Satan's prove it. Really?
Okay.
He's human, and God's like, sure. It's like betting your wife or your partner away. It's like saying, again, we're going back to they'll stay faithful. Watch this, and you're like, prove it. And
Yeah.
so they're like,
So
and so
go
you're like,
try to
okay,
sleep. Go try to sleep with my partner, and I'm sure he'll prove that he's faithful to me.
right.
That's a conversation they had. Go do your worst. Go mess him. Go mess him
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Put your tits right in his face.
Right
Go
in his
put your
face.
dick right in his mouth. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, and he'll stay faithful. He'll stay faithful.
Right.
Why? And that was God willingly doing that. That was God and Satan having a conversation. And
I am
Satan going,
imagining God and Satan being like these dude
"Mhm,
bros. Like these,
yeah,
like
yes,
being, or like these, like God is like Chad. He's like this dude bro,
yes,
and Satan's like the whole logical, like, businessman type thing,
hmm
and just being very wily. And that's how I imagine it.
it's Mufasa and Scar.
Oh, it is. No, 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 no.
Yeah,
Mufasa's way nicer than God ever
that's
will
true.
be.
You're right. You're right.
It's
All
basically
of
the
this,
basis for good omens. Yeah, you're
everything
right.
the sun touches is yours, except for that dark spot right over
That's syphilis. You need to go get that checked out.
there. Whew, wow, that took a turn.
But okay, so it's speaking of like biblical villains, we have Judas Iscariot. We have Judas,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He can take it. What choice does Job have? I mean, Job has a lot of choices.
To me, his choice to stay faithful is less about his being such a great servant, and more just not refusing to leave the toxic relationship. That's what that tells me. If your significant other is responsible for all of this horrible things that have happened to you, continuing to stay in that relationship just it shows that you are in a bad place.
Yeah. But Judas,
Mm.
who was I talking about this? Was it Jay? It might have been Jay. I don't know. It was something about Judas. Oh yeah, it was Jay, because we were talking something about, I don't know how Judas came. Oh no, it was my friend Andrew. It was my friend Andrew. Okay,
Okay.
so for those of you who don't know, I'm going to tell a backstory because ADD, and it's fine.
Mhm.
So I got a record player for Christmas, and so I've been buying some records, which is great. And I went to this old used bookstore, and I went and got Jesus Christ Superstar. And so my friend Andrew came over last night and brought some of his albums. And he's a big, he majored in vocal music, and he's a big Broadway person too. So we were listening to it because it's like original, London, West End casting, all those great, records, because we were being, whatever.
You're nerding
nerds.
out hardcore.
It is fine. So we were then discussing, because there's some like really like that rock opera, Jesus Christ Superstar, really focuses in, the main narrator is Judas, not Jesus, and very much Judas's point of view. And it was really emphasizing that. And we got into this discussion of Jesus was born to be sacrificed.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that Judas became the villain? Because it somehow had to, the sacrifice had to be perpetuated. The sacrifice had to be made. Judas was doing God's predestined plan, his will. That's for correct. Him. Mm-hmm. He was always supposed to be the villain. But let's think about this. Judas was a disciple. And it was just, talk about fucking PR spin. Mm-hmm. On how, like, oh, he took the, and he committed, he removed himself from this earthly coil so that we don't do so. He removed himself, and that was the whole thing, the betrayal, the getting paid to betray. Right, like Eric said, if he hadn't betrayed him, we wouldn't be saved. But yet he is still the enemy. But also on that same fact, if you're listening to Jesus Christ Superstar and you really start thinking about it, Judas was just the friend who was like, all these disciples were like fervent. And if we look at it as a cult, as a cult, don't think of Jesus as the Son of God. Think of it as this cult leader. And these disciples were these people who were the fervent ones. Like, they were the followers. They believed, they drank the Kool-Aid, so to say, 100%. But Judas was the one that had one foot in reality, going, okay, wait. And really, Judas was like, went to because they were still Jews. They were still in the Jewish faith. That's what the king of the Jews, he was of the Jewish faith. He went to his leaders going, he's getting out of control, and I am worried about the influence that he is having. He was questioning. He was being logical. Yeah. And it's like, but Judas became this the ultimate betrayer, ultimate villain, this ultimate bad guy. But there's nothing
fulfilling the prophecy.
Right. He was a part of it. And he was just actually just he was just questioning.
Yeah.
And he was trying to do what was best, thinking what he thought was best.
Did he even know what was going to happen? I wonder that. Did he know when he pointed, cuz all he was told he needed to point out who Jesus was by kissing him on the cheek. But did Judas know what was going to happen at that point?
I mean, I think he knew because the Romans. I mean, it was natural that Romans. I mean, Jesus was not the first crucifixion. Crucifixion became this thing, but Romans have been crucifying people long before Jesus and long after Jesus. I mean, that was how Romans executed people. But Judas, I think Judas sort of had an idea, but it was one of those. I think Judas just didn't believe 100%. And he's like seeing the toxic behaviors and seeing all these things and going, okay, it's like those people in cults who are trying to be whistleblowers, who go to the authorities, who go to the things going, he's dangerous. He's dangerous to these people, and he's dangerous to he's a danger, and he's got to be stopped. But he's made to be this villain because he was trying to do the right thing. And in the end, I think the whole reason he removed himself from this mortal coil is because of the whole PR. How many people have even though looking back did the right thing, the PR of you're the reason he died. You're the bad guy. You betrayed him. And nobody wanted to believe him. Nobody wanted to believe that he was just doing what he thought was best for the people.
Yeah. Eric brings up a good point. His choice was between money and torture. Did Judas really have much of a choice when he was told what he needed to do? Maybe that's yeah. Did he really have a choice? If he didn't do what they wanted him to, would they have unalived him?
Right.
I don't know if there's enough evidence in the Bible or to know that, but like I don't think, again, black and white. The church goes, Judas betrayed, he's evil, he's the villain, you're done. Don't talk. We don't need to worry anything else about. He's the villain, done. When we're going, there's gray area there. There's some nuance
questions.
There.
Excuse me, I got questions. No, your questions are irrelevant.
No.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay, Jay. I don't need you to be smart.
That's a free will. That's a whole other thing. Podcast or episode.
Didn't sound like spilling the beans was optional to me, right? And yet he was made to be the villain.
Yeah.
So.
Which brings me to one of the things. One of the differences between villains when I growing up and villains now, the perception of villains now. Growing up, especially in the church, villains were black and white, and that was reinforced by culture. I mean, look at Disney movies and stuff. Villains were obvious; you immediately knew the villain. Very black and white. But in the reality, as you grow up, hopefully you realize that villains aren't so black and white. Villains are gray, and sometimes a villain is simply a matter of perspective.
I think that in our culture, if you look at it in our culture, we have actually are stepping that back. I think we're questioning that. Look at the Joker films. Look at the Disney films like Maleficent. Look at how they're taking Maleficent.
They're starting to do that.
Like, and going, Yeah, she was the evil one in Sleeping Beauty, but let's look at it from her point of view. And if you look at them,
Yep.
like, and that's why, like, the Disney villains have become a lot more popular, is
Mhm.
because there are people who are going, whoa, time out,
Yeah.
time out.
Yeah.
Look at the evil queen. Okay, the evil queen was, but like, I feel like she was, like, I love the evil queen because she was empowered. She was this powerful
Mhm.
woman who married, she married this man, this king, who was obsessed with his dead wife and his daughter and just pretty much emotionally and mentally neglected her. And it was like she spent all of her time, who's the fairest of them all? And
Mhm.
of course you're going to, like, over
Yeah.
time, it's like, why did you marry me? Why did you marry me?
Mhm.
And who's the fairest of them all? Well, Snow White is. Well, then, because beauty was so revered, it didn't matter how smart or intelligent or how, because at the
Mhm.
time the father died, she was ruling the kingdom, but that didn't matter
Yeah.
because it didn't matter. Hook lost his hand to Peter Pan.
That's correct. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. I mean, yeah, they are not so. It is not so clear cut. And I think you're right. Yes, society is exploring that p- parts of society. I wouldn't say all of society because I think honestly, I think the church is still stuck very much in the black and white villain mentality.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but a lot of society they're starting to look into that. Like was it Once Upon a Time when they turned all the Disney stuff into the TV show? Wasn't that called like Once Upon a Time?
Yeah.
So like the evil queen, that was one of the big themes in that show. Is the evil queen was not flat out straight evil, was always doing these horrible things. No, there was a lot of stuff. And actually, when I watched it, I connected more to the evil queen than I did to Snow White. I thought the Snow White character was terrible. I couldn't stand like to me she was more of a villain than the evil queen was.
It was removed by Peter Pan. Oh my God. No, then that means he lost it. Anyway,
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna get it. I'm not,
But but
but
that's
yeah.
that's a big deal is like sometimes a villain is simply a matter of perspective.
Hmm.
Who do you associate with? I've talked about like the Walking Dead show and the hero is Rick, but he's if you look from the perspective of the other, if you flip it around and he's no longer the focal point of the show, he's not a hero, he's a villain.
Paragon, you right. You
Mm.
right. And
Yeah.
say Paragon says we look at Maleficent like you must be evil because you get all your ideals and logic from an inanimate object or mirror. So it
Mhm.
says the people who get all their logic from a book.
Ah. Paragon.
I know,
Wow. Well
coming in
said.
with the
Yeah, coming
intelligence.
in hard. Coming in hot. Absolutely.
um. So yeah. Okay. And well, we've actually in this discussion have covered a lot of our questions.
We
Like
we
I was
have,
like,
yeah. We don't go straight down. We tend to jump.
okay. So here's a question for you. I wanted
Uh-huh.
to do this. I have to make someone out to be the villain. Yeah. Yeah. There has like everything. What I say?
All right, go ahead.
What was that?
What's your
What was
question?
that? How did the scapegoat create a fear? How did the scapegoating create a fear of becoming a villain yourself?
What's
Discuss the pressure to conform out of fear of being ostracized or demonized. That is,
Oh.
I was the
Oh.
scapegoat. So I mean,
Yeah.
there was no like I tried to not be the scapegoat. It wasn't that like
Mhm.
create it from becoming. I was the scapegoat in my family life, in the church life. Like in just after the church, I don't again like I said. I was the scapegoat for Sean's marriage falling apart, and I wasn't even speaking to him. I am just the scapegoat for just existing. And I have spent a lot of time like feeling really bad about that and feeling like shame about that and being the villain in a lot of people's stories. And what I've discovered is that like I thought, oh my God. And that's what like developed and how I developed my people pleasing and my way of anticipating like how people are going to react. And then what I realized is that the only reason that I've become villains and a scapegoat in other people's stories is because I was an easy target, because I had a great personality, or I was good looking, or I was smart, or I was talented, or I was things. I was intimidating, and I was easy to turn that into a villain. I was easy to go, I am this way because she is that way, or I am this way because she's doing this, or it was so easy. And what I realized is that's not me. That is not me. I am not a villain. And if I have to be somebody's villain in their story, I cannot control that. I can't. And I spent a lot of time like reducing myself, reducing my personality, not looking pretty, not looking sexy, not being smart, not like taking a back seat, because for the longest time I had actually gaslit myself and convinced myself I was a support person so that I wouldn't be the villain.
Yeah.
But the reality is I'm fucking main character energy. You don't like that shit. I'm sorry. That's for you to figure out. And if you need to create a villain and make me a villain, that's not on me. If you need to make me the bad guy to feel better about yourself, then that says a ton more about you than it does about me. I'm going to continue to be me, and I'm going to continue to be smart and amazing and talented and do all the things. And yes, I'm going to take accountability. But in the reality, for the longest time, I thought I was this like bad person. I was mean. I was like all these things, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
I just believe the hype of like somebody talking about me. So I was the scapegoat. I'm the scapegoat. And you know what? Fuck it. Bah. Like, God, I'm just like, fuck it.
Your worth as a person is not based upon how someone else sees you as a scapegoat. Yeah. The some of the groups that the church loves to villainize are groups like the LGBT community. And so it's difficult to be in the church and not scapegoat. That's kind of part of the conformity, is if the group as a whole is scapegoating or villainizing, it's hard to be that opposing opinion. It's hard to be that, well, I don't know if that's, because then you get shamed into conforming. And that had a big impact on my deconstruction, is this villainizing that happened, especially of like the LGBT community, where this is how I was supposed to. Yes, exactly. This is what I'm supposed to believe, and these people are evil. And there's a point where I wasn't seeing them as evil anymore. Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, poor people without a lot of money, that they are also villainized. It's when you want to villainize someone, you dehumanize them. It's easy to villainize someone who you've dehumanized. They're not a real person. They're just this idea. And so that's what happened. When the church goes, these people, this group, this idea is evil, and you have to hate them. But to fight that, when you start humanizing these people, when you start humanizing people within that group, it changes. And that's what changed for me, is as I got older, I started meeting and becoming friends with people in that community. And I'm like, wait, these people aren't evil. I was told that they were evil and the downfall of society, and they're going to ruin our lives. No, they're just trying to live their lives. And so I started to create that gap between what I was supposed to believe as a group versus what I did believe. And then it turns out that I'm bi. So, there's that.
I mean, there is that.
So. That was,
Yeah. So I mean, I just think everybody like I think that the church just needed somebody to. They always are creating villains, and they teach you how to create villains.
Yes.
Easy.
Yes.
Like, oh
You
my God, like speaking of LGBTQ, like you can't love the sinner, hate the sin.
Oh my god. Yes, that was preached
Fuck,
all the time.
what the fuck is that?
It, it's okay. It's okay to be gay. You just can't participate in the activities of being gay.
Right. And oh,
That's
but like don't hang out with
yes.
the
Oh, the
gays
gays. Duh.
because they
Yeah.
the gays because they'll make you gay.
Don't.
And oh,
It's
oh my
yes,
God,
absolutely.
like the gay frogs. Like what the, like you and when you look back and go, you are fucking reaching.
Well, they had to a lot. The church often had to because people were starting as time went on. There are people that were starting like me. They're starting to go. I'm not sure if that's exactly the Like, are they really evil? Are they really the problem? And so the church had to go. Okay, well, if I hold fast to this idea, people are going to keep rejecting it. So okay, so maybe it's not. They're not evil, but their actions are evil. So they start moving the goalposts in order
And
to
it
keep.
Yeah, but like even that, in moving the goalposts, they're reaching and they're teaching
But
you
yes, they
how to
are.
reach. Like it's just a thing.
Rationalization, yes.
Rationalization. And
Yep.
like you don't realize that you're doing it because that's just like when I didn't even realize because like after as I am starting to heal and do my like not just my deconstructing but my healing. And because I've been out of the church for a very long time. And it's like how like now that looking back on it as I am like unconnecting dots because you know they teach you how to connect the crazy dots like
Yes, yes, they
I
do.
needed to do this so I'm going to connect all of these and it looks like it doesn't make a picture, it just makes this crazy and then you start
You make up
unconnecting the
picture.
dots.
Yeah.
You make up the picture and I'm just like how did I get there? Like and so when you start hearing the church talk about that or anybody else you're like
Mm-hmm.
okay. I don't know how you got me, like, just like one of those, I don't know how you got me being in an orgy with 12 different men from me just talking about how I went to the store. I don't know. Like, how did you get there? But apparently that's where we are. Like,
Well, you went to the produce aisle and picked up some produce.
right. I picked up some cucumbers for a salad, but my God, okay, my bad.
I mean, were you planning to toss that?
Listen, don't knock it till you try it, but I'm just saying that.
You're assuming I haven't.
I'm just saying. I'm just for those of you out there. Just
That's true. Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people aren't into that, but don't yuck my yum.
Exactly.
But like that's the thing is that like you have to have that villain to, like you said, to ease that distortion in your head, that discomfort.
Yep. I have a problem. I'm upset about something. So instead of doing something about it or accepting that right now maybe I can't do anything about it, you decide that someone else is responsible for it. Whether it's again the LGBT community that's destroying society, whether it's poor people, whether it's people that have a different nationality or skin color, it's anything that you anything that you can put your finger on as a group and go, it's their fault. It's they're the reason that I'm feeling this way. The church fosters that. Instead of preaching to love people, it fosters this villainization of groups of people.
And just people in general.
Mhm.
And I have just been on the receiving end of that so often that like I think also for me it's like I have been on the receiving end of that behavior and that process for so long, all of my life, that it just became natural for me to do it. Like it just like people do it to me, so that and people do it to me and I know that I am not what they're saying of me. So like it becomes this vicious cycle. And this is like And it's hard. It's hard when you do the vilifying of other people,
Yeah. Yes.
when
It
you
becomes
finally
second
peel away the
nature.
weight layer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the thing that I struggle with right now is it's so second nature to me that I start doing that without even I'm not even conscious of I am making someone a villain. It's suddenly there. I'm finding myself angry at someone and going, "Whoa, wait, why am I angry? What's going on here?" Because I made a villain without even consciously. I made it subconsciously.
Yeah. Right. Different. Yet
Mhm.
don't judge us,
Different.
ye be
Oh, different
judged.
religions.
Oh,
Yeah.
yo, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We're gonna judge you. We're gonna make you evil,
Yeah.
but we're loving. And
We're
let's
loving.
not.
Oh yes, we're
We're gonna
loving.
talk
No,
about
there's no.
this.
What's the phrase? There's no hate like Christian love. That
Facts.
yeah.
They teach
That
you how to
is
toxic love, and
yeah
then we wonder
yeah.
why we're in the toxic relationships that we're in. Okay, all right, that's cool,
Not
cool, cool, cool.
and not everybody's like that. Not all Christians are the same. Not all
Nope.
churches are the same. Not all people. But what the way we grew up, that was very much the way I grew up. Speaking for myself, that was very much the mentality.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
yeah, we're tolerant and we're loving, but you have to be exactly like we are. Mm,
We
yeah.
love them in Christ equals we hate their guts. Facts.
That is yes, but that's like to bless your heart. Yeah.
So, so it's
Mhm.
like, how does this scapegoating behavior show up in personal relationships?
Oh well, yeah, we kind of covered that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you think of a time when someone you labeled as a villain turned out to be more complex?
Everyone, pretty much everyone, because pretty much anyone that I have vilified it falls into that category.
I
Um,
mean, facts. But I mean, come on. Dude,
yeah,
come on.
yeah. Um, so one of the ones that hit me the hardest was my ex because going through a divorce so incredibly easy to villainize, and I've been villainizing her well before the divorce even happened. And one point, a former therapist started to challenge that and went,
The
so
one good thing he did.
yeah, yeah. One of the good points in the time before I got to the point where I switched therapist, he was like, "So how do you think she was feeling in this moment?" So you said this is what was going on. This is what was going on. This is what was going on. Okay, okay. So this is the situation, the picture that you painted. How do you think? I know how you felt about it. How do you think she felt in this situation? I th- I think she was scared. I think she felt trapped. He went, hmm. Does that sound like a villain to you? Oh, oh, why? What? Yeah. And I was like, oh, and it just glass shatter. It was like, he's like, would you have felt the same way? Yeah.
Oh, don't get him wrong.
Yeah.
He still does it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have to point
But
it out all the time.
oh yeah, yeah, I still do it. But that was a really big one for me was realizing she was doing she was doing the what she knew to do in order to protect herself.
To survive.
Oh, to survive, exactly. She felt trapped. She didn't feel safe. She was doing everything, even whether it was defensive or aggressive. Both of those were an attempt to survive and protect herself.
Oh, absolutely.
So, not saying that any of it that those things were good, healthy choices, but she wasn't a villain. She wasn't doing it. Her goal was not to hurt me. Her goal was to protect herself. It just happened to be that that hurts me.
But what were you doing to hurt her?
Exactly. Well, and I wasn't innocent. I was doing things that was best that I felt was best for myself, and then because of that, and those things happened to hurt her and made her feel unsafe. So we were both at fault. We both had a responsibility in the
So
relationship.
both of you were each other's villains when the
Yes,
reality was you
neither
were
of us
just
were
two people
people.
who were doing things to help whatever it was to making choices to protect themselves and to cope.
Yes, yes, Mhm.
When you zoom out,
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
all of a sudden, it's not as black and white. It's not as,
Hmm.
Eric says, my
Yeah.
BPD sister was a scapegoat at home in my 20s.
Hmm.
Oh,
Hey,
thanks
Nev.
for the subscription. Thanks, Nev. In my 20s, we became best friends. Sounds silly, but it made me feel protective of all in that community, even though they were better with conflict than I. It's so easy as somebody who suffers with that. Like, it is really easy to vilify. And as somebody with, it's called splitting. And splitting is when it's that intense feeling that person that you're with is, they can do no wrong, no wrong. They're perfect. Everything they do is perfect. Everything they do is great until they do the one, like they do something that triggers you or something that upsets you or something that gives you that one. So they break that euphoric thought process and patterns. And so in that case, the moment they break that thought process and pattern, then all of a sudden you instantly, that person, that favorite person, whatever, becomes the villain.
Yeah.
Even though you're human, you make the mistake, they make mistakes, they do their things, they're allowed to do all the things, but in somebody, in that person's brain, they're not allowed to. And then all of a sudden, they instantly create the villain arc. They instantly go, well, you hate me and you don't love me enough, and they start connecting these dots that to justify this feeling, which really what it is a fear of abandonment. And really it comes from this fear. And as I am doing my work in my healing and in the processing through all of that and realizing and recognizing that and recognizing when I'm doing that, when I'm hurt or somebody hurts me and I don't, I have to go, accepting the thoughts that, friend or foe, eventually it shaped her psyche. Yeah. And it was like accepting the thoughts that, hey, this is me splitting, and being able to vocalize that and going, hey, I'm hurting, or I got hurt or whatever. And I'm feeling the urge to split and do thing. And processing through that. And so it's hard, but it's so easy for somebody with BPD to instantly go villain. You're my hero. You're my hero. You're my hero. Fucking you
Villain.
you are the worst of the worst. Without rationalization, without any justification. And until you are in that process of healing, in that process of and you can't really heal completely BPD, but you can manage it until you're in that process of obtaining the tools and processes to help you recognize those behaviors. You don't even realize you're doing it. Like, you don't. Yeah. And I've done that so many times. I don't know how many times. And that's why being in any type of relationship, be it friendship, familial, just romantic, all types of relationships with somebody with BPD is so difficult and tumultuous, because you are like, they're wonderful and they love you, and they're, 1 minute and the next minute they're like, I hate you. And then it's just, it's so mercurial, and it's hard. It's hard. And a lot of people don't understand that. And it gets emotionally, mentally exhausting for the other person. And I have to recognize that as well. It sucks.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, absolutely.
It sucks. Because really it all stems from just the fear of abandonment. And it all stems from that being abandoned and that trauma and just it. Yeah.
Yeah. And reactions can be very intense, especially when you feel threatened, because that abandonment is you feel threatened. You feel threatened. That's the abandonment, and so the reaction, it can be very intense.
I like this question.
Yeah.
What role does humor play in unpacking and healing from the villain mindset?
Sometimes saying the words out loud makes you go, wait, really? Like, or taking the 1,000-foot view, the stepping back. What?
Sean's like, I don't use humor.
I mean,
nothing's funny to me.
Does making puns count?
Yes, it does. But I think it's that whole twisted sense of humor, that dark sense of humor, that whole like I think of it this way. Like, how often, like, Jafar, like, you think of, like, all of these villains that we've created. He doesn't use humor even when he makes a joke. Aww. I think some of his, a spattering of
it's
his
the law of averages. If I make enough jokes, at least one of them is going to be funny.
Well, just look at this podcast right now. I mean, look at us, like, talking about this right now. It is talking very plainly and openly about it. And I think understanding, again, people have made me a villain all their fucking life. And I look at them and going, I'm a fucking mess. Like, what the fuck? It's like, I mean, he's like, she's ruined my life. Okay. I'm literally just sitting here drinking my coffee, but sure. Whatever works for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not making fun or mocking somebody's mental health journey, because I think I don't want it to misrepresent that, but I think that there are just some things I think if you look at when you Sean, think of the time that you vilified somebody, and when you have deconstructed that vilification, how ridiculous was it?
That's kind of what I mean about sometimes when you say it out loud, or when you go back and think about it, you're like, oh my God, really?
Eric, your humor can't get too dark.
Not this.
Just don't involve children or animals, and we're good.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty much it.
But yeah, it sounds ridiculous. It's like, wait, did I really think that this person was out to get me, or this person was trying to live their life, and I made it all about me? Like I am the reason they do what they do. Like, how conceited is that? That all of their choices are based upon me.
Like, for me, it's like I look at like how I like vilify people, and I'm going, that's some tall tale shit right there. Like, if you really, again, if you do the whole, which has helped a whole lot for me, if I really fucking zoom out and look at the like big picture, and there's like, okay, let's step outside of your bubble, and I look at that and I go, I weaved some really elaborate tales, and you look at yourself and you have to laugh at yourself at that point.
What a tangled web I've woven.
It's like, what the fuck? Like, it's the whole, what the fuck was I thinking?
When I am convinced, I'm trying to avoid saying you, because when I'm convinced that someone is a villain, I will connect dots that are so far removed from each other. Yes, I have done this with Anna. When I'm convinced that Anna is a villain in a certain story, I will connect dots. Like, I will play detective. And like, I feel like I'm Sherlock Holmes connecting dots and finding clues, when really I'm Don Quixote.
This is how you can make it humorous. This is how this whole like vilification is humorous. Because I will literally
I've connected dots, and there's a windmill, or that's a dragon. That's absolutely a dragon in my story. No, that's a windmill. It's not a dragon. I am convinced.
There's been times where Sean would be like super upset with something, like something I've done or something, like, and I'm going, hold up, like, what? What's, huh? And he will be very convinced. And I'm
I am very convincing to myself if I start going down that road, that pattern. Yeah.
Give me enough reason, I can make you responsible for us needing to enter World War II. My parents used to say, like, it used to be the joke, World War III is going to be your fault. That was their joke. That was their joke. That
That's
was the
not
family joke. The family joke. It's
that.
something would happen. Oh, it has to be Anna's fault. World War Three. Why? Why? Because World War Three is going to be your fault. And I'm like, and over time, like, okay, I just like was accepting as like, oh, that's a family joke. But then I realized what they were saying. Like,
Mhm.
what the fuck? How? Like, what?
Mhm.
And yeah, but Sean I will literally be doing so, like, I will be telling, like, that's the thing is like, I will tell him exactly what I'll be doing. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Here's the plan. I will tell you the steps to the plan.
Mhm.
And it's all you have to do is just go X, Y, Z. All you have to do is just follow the line and everything. And I do X, Y, and Z. It's not, I don't deviate from it. It's just, I follow the plan.
Mhm.
Sean's like, but we're gonna do it this way, and we're
Mhm.
going to connect all the dots. And then he's like, and then all he's concentrated on are the extra dots in between that he's created. And I'm like,
Yeah. What about this dot? What about that dot? What about this dot? What about that dot? What about this dot?
and I did none of those dots, but here they are. Apparently, I breathed incorrectly or used a wrong punctuation. I don't know. And then all of a sudden, there I am, and like,
You use the wrong word. You use
and now I am like this evil person who's out to use and get him, and I don't know.
I have taken a single word and turned it into a dot, into a point before. One word, and I will spend hours going over this. Well, did she mean this? Did she mean that? Did she mean this? She could have meant that. She could have meant this. She could have meant this.
He'll even
It's,
make a situation that if you zoom out and look at it, like eh, eh, his hypervigilance, Sean, there's one thing, but he will take a situation and he will literally spin it to this whole secret eye contact, like he will do, and we are laughing about it now, but it isn't then. But
mhm,
again, this is part of it.
mhm.
It's like, again, looking back on the how deep this goes, like they were looking at each other and they're doing this secret
They were
telepathic shit.
exchanging.
They were
Yeah.
exchanging things and know what like they were gone. They were out of my sight for 5.2 seconds, and that means like they obviously were fucking. I was like,
I
it's
mean,
literally
some
across
people
the
only
room.
need 5.2 seconds.
That says a lot more about you than it does me. But I mean, it's just
I mean, not
like,
me. I wouldn't say me.
okay. So, but it's like if I'm out of his sight for like 5 seconds, something happens. I'm like, you, I was 5 seconds. It was 5 seconds, Sean.
Ooh, more coffee. That's always a good time for more coffee.
Yeah, but I mean, but I'm the same way, and I was the same way when somebody wasn't texting me back fast enough, and wasn't texting me back as often, or giving me vague answers or whatever, and I would create these scenarios, and it's so like, and as I'm like sitting back and I again zoom out, I'm like. And a lot of times, oh, you want to know the villain? The villain is me. The villain is because I'm the scapegoat. Like if I can just hear somebody at work down the hall, I can't hear exactly what they're talking about, but I know that they're talking. All of a sudden, it's like I create this. What did I do wrong? And I'm going to get fired. And oh my god, like it's just like
They're talking about you.
yeah.
Oh, that is yeah. When I get in my head and I've created a story, anyone talking, like just like you said, where I can hear them talking but I can't hear what they're saying, immediately becomes about me.
Which makes them the villain
Absolutely.
because they're talking
Yes.
about me, but they're not
What are
saying
they
it to my
saying
face.
about me? Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Like they are
The
literally
lengths that we
discussing
will
something
go.
else. Like they're not even talking.
Yeah.
I'm not even on their brain. Yeah, the lengths that we will go. It's
We think when we look back, when I look back at it, it's like, did I really believe that I was so important in their universe, in their world, that everything that they did involved me? Wow.
yeah, but it's so again with the church, and I go back to what I said in the beginning. Is that it's us before we do this hard work in the healing and the self reflection and the tools that we were given, it's easy for us to make somebody the villain. It's easy for us, and it's second nature, because when you are living in that traumatic type mindset, that toxic type mindset, you don't know any different. And we were raised that Satan was the problem. We were born bad because Eve ate the apple, or Satan is the reason that bad things happen to us. Somebody else. It was always somebody else. And it was always a vilification of that. And we even learned to vilify ourselves because we were born evil. We were bad. Had we been listening, which then us vilifying ourselves perpetuates the feeling of shame. And so the villainy of everything was just second nature. So you don't realize you're doing it. You don't realize when you're in a conflict with somebody, or you're feeling that uncomfortable emotion, or you don't real. And I think that being hard on ourselves, going, we should have known better. Well, we didn't. And we can't be upset with ourselves that we didn't know that. But what we can do is, now that we have these current tools and coping mechanisms, now we can go, I'm doing this. I can't go back and change what I did. I can just deal with what is happening right now. I'm vilifying that person. Am I taking responsibility? Or is it something that I'm doing to comfort and soothe myself? That's hard. It is really, really hard when that's all you know. Just like you only know toxic relationship if you grew up in a toxic and abusive environment, and you think that that's love, and you think that, and then once you start realizing that's not healthy, you realize that's not love, and that's hard for you because that's all you know. And this is all we know. Making villains, all I know is being a scapegoat.
The healthy becomes uncomfortable.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was the topic in my therapy session.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, last one. What advice would you give someone still grappling with the effects of scapegoating in their life? Vilifying and scapegoating. Hey, Sean, why don't you do that? I'm used to restroom.
Oh, wait, whoa, you're oh my God. What advice would I give? Probably the advice that I give myself, which a lot of it is when I find myself connecting dots, is stopping, pulling back and going, what's the evidence? I've got a lot of these ideas that I'm contributing to. I'm saying this means that, but what's the evidence? What do I really have? They said this. Yes, but what evidence do I have that that's exactly what that means? Is stopping, instead of drawing the conclusions and making the assumptions, and is stopping and examining the evidence. The other is to remind myself that the other person is making the best choices for themselves. It's not about me. They're making the choices that they need to make for their life. And it doesn't revolve around me. Yeah. It's probably some of the things the advice that I would give other people is I remind myself of that. What's that look for?
Being aware of the pitfalls of groupthink. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's important. Yeah. That it's okay to question.
I think for me, the advice I would give is to anybody who's dealing with scapegoating, either they are in the act of or doing all of that, is everybody, you can't control other people. And you know your truth. Now, will you often evaluate your truth? Because, I mean, you're human. But, I mean, You can't control other people's thoughts, opinions, and there's nothing that you can do about that. And are you willing to go out of your way to try to change their opinion? And is that healthy?
Ooh, that's a good
And the
one.
reality is, it never is. You can stand up for what is right. You can hold firm to your truth. I am not saying that. I am not saying don't stand up for yourself or firm with your truth. But there's a difference between standing up for your truth and standing firm in your truth and retaliation and trying to change somebody else's truth.
Yes.
Because the reality is, like, as an example, Sean's ex's eyes, I am the whole reason that there was a demise of their marriage. And there is nothing that I can do, nothing that Sean could do. There was nothing that you could say. I am literally, my mere existence on this planet was the whole reason that their marriage fell apart. Even though I hadn't talked to them since the day they got engaged till the day they decided to separate. Like, there was a fucking 12, 13-year gap.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing I could do. And, you know, I for a long time until I started, like, actually deep into intensive therapy, I was like, but I just had to accept it. I had to accept. And I know the truth. I know my truth. I know that that truth is incorrect, but for them, for her, I can't change that. I am the villain in my mother's story. And she's the villain in mine. And that sucks. And it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to take where I am accountable. And she has to take where she's accountable. And I can't force her to take accountability. And I'm not trying to make her a scapegoat in any way. I am also acknowledging that I don't have to live by that standard. And it's hard. Because the reality is, and the popular saying nowadays all around Insta and social media is enter your villain era. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but it's like you're going to be the villain in somebody's story.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone is going to like you. Not everyone's going to love you. And there are people out there who hate you out of fucking principle.
Mm-hmm.
But dwelling on that, it's just giving them power over you and hindering your healing and hindering your self-worth and focusing on that is influencing your choices and your decisions for yourself.
Yep.
It's hard, especially when you want to be liked and you want to be loved, and especially like you have the trauma like Sean and I do, where validation is necessary. And you know, be good at all times, be the good person, be the one that everyone loves and never but that's not possible.
Be the people pleaser, and I'm going to convince them to like me.
Yeah. I'm going to go out of my way.
If I just do this, they'll like me.
I just need to sit down and talk with them and they'll like me. Or
if I could just explain, if I could just,
Or okay, I'll be aware of, like, I won't do this or say this or talk about this around them so that they don't. I can't. I am the whore. I like, how many times it's like, you're out to take my man. You can keep your fucking man. I don't want your man.
You Jezebel.
I know. Yeah. Like if I had a dog, like even a guy, like I don't know how many and it used to bother me, and it used to really get really into my, really deep into my shame, and it still bothers me to a certain degree, but not nearly. It doesn't have nearly as much control. It's like, she's just trying to fuck him. Just because I can have a conversation with him, I think I was like, and a lot of times it's because I can speak to most people, not just males, but anybody, on a level of compassion and interest and not judgment. And that bothers people because, like, especially girlfriends and wives who see me talking to their significant other in a way that they wish that they could talk to their significant other. Mm-hmm. Oh, she's just trying to sleep with him because they see, and I can understand that. They can see that as an intimate thing, as a vulnerable thing. But it is not something that I'm not trying to take your man away. I am meeting them as a person. And I respect your relationship and your marriage, and you do you, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But they see that as an intimate thing because they don't get that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my fault.
And
That's not my fault.
They have a choice whether to try to foster that or to make you the villain and deal with that. And it's easier to make the other person to make you a villain than it is for them to
Because that would
figure out what
require self-inflection on self
accountability.
reflection on themselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the way your ex was. That's why you were like, because I like it was that way because I didn't. And I'm not vilifying those people. I understand it. I understand it 100%. And I spent a lot of time avoiding a lot of people and avoiding situations because of that, because I wanted to show respect for that. And I do. But then I got to the point where it's like I'm avoiding having meaningful friendships and conversations with people, regardless of their sex. Because, and you know what? Yeah. They probably find me attractive and want to fuck me. That doesn't mean I'm going to. And again, that's on them. That's not on me. And that is not my fault. And I know where boundaries are. And I know how to state boundaries. And I know how to word things where it's very clear that no, we're not having that conversation. And we're not doing that. Like, but it's human nature. You can think of 6 people right now who are in marriages or relationships that you want to fuck, but you don't. It's not like you're going to act upon them. It's fine. I'm not going to take your man. You know, that whole, like, I can take your man if you want to. I can take your man, but I don't want to. So, like, it's fine. Like, I can't.
You can keep your man.
You can keep him in y'all's trauma and y'all's, because the thing is, here's the reality, folks. Here's, like, the vilifying of me. And it's like, oh, I can take your man if you want to. You don't want to take them because if you can take them, then they're bringing with them all the fucking trauma and baggage that they haven't fucking dealt with. And you're going to have to try and deal with it. And it's like, no. I'm good.
You can keep your baggage outside. Yeah.
You can keep your bags if you want to. Like, I don't need that. Like,
yeah. I don't need that luggage in my life.
Nope. Wait, how many villains are in relationships?
What do you mean, how many villains?
Think of it like the Disney villains, for example.
Okay.
Like Mufasa.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was single.
Usually they're 1-to-1. Yeah. Usually the hero villain is 1-to-1 because it's simple. And it also in the stories it creates the rise and fall.
I have my own trauma. I don't want their shit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole archaic thought of it. Okay, I'm going to scratch that, reverse that, because that was very judgmental. Okay, so the mindset, the thought process of the very conservative thought process that men and women cannot be friends, that men and women cannot be alone. The Billy Graham rule, the whatever that that has permeated in the, oh, well, you know, oh, they ended up dating the girl that they told me not to worry about. Well, like, you perpetuated that. Like, yes, are there some people out here who do that? But yeah, there are some people who are just friends with them. I feel like, I don't know. I could go on a whole end, but I think that goes along with I have been the scapegoat for so many relationships failing. I really have. I have been the scapegoat and the villain. And I'm like, that's not on me. And I haven't taken anyone and I haven't done anything. I have just existed. And yet
yeah.
Yes, Beast was the villain at first. Yes.
Yeah. Beauty and the Beast has its own problems. Yeah.
But the villain in Beauty and the Beast was not the Beast. It was Gaston.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
But
absolutely.
the original, the Beast was the problem. But
yeah.
I could go on forever.
It could be a whole other episode talking about
Okay.
talking about relationships.
So, Sean, one more
Yes.
question
Okay.
before we go.
Okay.
Uh, what do you see so valuable that I'm missing? Oh, look at Jay coming in with a.
Interesting.
So Jay said there are also the people that say, you accuse me of cheating with them enough. What do you see so valuable that I'm missing? Oh, but Jay, that makes him self-reflect. That's like, you can't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. I think a lot of that stems from the abandonment and the feeling of I'm not worthy. That the only reason that the person is with me is because they haven't found someone else.
I don't need you coming at me that way. I don't need you fucking coming at me that goddamn way.
I'm calling myself out here.
I don't need you coming at me that way.
But that is a very common one. And if like
Yeah, and it's easy to make somebody else the villain instead of addressing the issue. It's easy to make that other person. Now, are there people out there who are purposely out there trying to get your man or get your woman and that don't
that does
respect
happen.
boundaries?
Yes.
Absolutely. I am not saying that, and I'm not
But
diminishing that. But
yeah. But sometimes that participation requires the choices of two people. So if it was so easy for your partner to do that, what does it say about your relationship?
or that
And I
person that had
and
nothing to do
that
with you.
person. Well, yeah. And there are some relationships where that actually is the case. The only reason they're together is because of like, but that doesn't mean the third person is the problem. The third person isn't the problem. Your relationship is where it's at because it's where it's at because of the two of you. So it's not their fault. They're just trying to make a new friend or something, right? But it's again, why do we villainize? Why do we create scapegoats? Because it's easier than it is to self-reflect and take accountability.
Sucks. Okay.
Yes, I use that. Mhm.
Yeah, he did.
Bam.
Fuck you. Okay, Sean. All right.
Mhm.
What is the worst time you have vilified somebody and came to the realization that they weren't the villain, other than your ex-wife?
Oh, it was you. It was absolutely you. It was remember our reboot? It was like the whole content the whole situation when we rebooted. That was I came to you. I thought we had talked about this. I came to you when around the time that we rebooted. That's when I started stalking you
We have
on
talked about this, but like there are new
okay.
people here, so I feel like you need to recount
So
this.
yeah, so we didn't have any communication at all for like 12 years. So uh I was starting. My spouse and I, my ex and I, we were separating. And so we had already called it. We'd called it quits. We just the rest of it just needed to paperwork and time. And so my one of my first thoughts when that happened was like, I've avoided any communication with Anna for all these years because that was one of the rules in my relationship, even though we hadn't communicated for 12 years already. So, I one of the things when I started stalking you was I wanted to eventually have a communication, have a conversation with you, talking about all of the stuff, all of the things I was scapegoating you for, all the things I was upset about that that was your fault. All the things that I was blaming you for. Like not so much and not necessarily to have a conversation of, "Hey, I've been harboring all of this stuff and so I feel bad that I've been." No, I was actually looking to kind of unload a bit.
And he did.
Um yeah, and I did, but I did. And then that ended up leading into a realization. I remember exactly when it happened too, because it was so powerful.
Well, yeah, a realization from me.
Yeah, it was
Mind you.
realization. Yeah, yeah. So I think you had texted me. We were talking about all the stuff that had happened over the years,
Mhm.
from college on. Um, And Anna had a realization that I was sitting here playing the victim in all of my relationships and all of the unhealthy dynamics within all my relationships. And Anna was like, wait. you instigated this. You were a catalyst. Like you kind of you as in me, I kind of orchestrated some of it. I wasn't the victim. I was the perpetrator in much of what happened. I chose to I made choices to allow these things to continue. So I'm sitting here playing the victim, and I'm not the victim at all. Unhealthy. There was unhealthy choices were made on both sides, and like what was interesting is that was the part of the reason I remember it so vividly. It was a turning point. It was a stop go moment for us actually in our reboot. Is because when you said that, and I went, oh my god, and I had a choice. I could be introspective and go, "Oh my god, yeah, you're right." Or I could go, "No, it's not my fault. It was I could double down on being a victim." And if I had doubled down on being a victim, we would not be here today. Cuz you would have been like, "Yeah, well, he hasn't changed. All right, great." Cuz
And
you
it
didn't need
wasn't
that.
that I was negating, and I don't want people to think that it was just like
Mhm.
I was turning it around and dumping
Mm.
back on him. I just literally went. I did listen, and I did
Mhm.
and I did like honestly, it was a 2 day long conversation, and I
Yeah.
remember just sobbing because I have often
Yeah.
again. Me being the scapegoat and the black sheep of my family, that was just like
Mhm.
I just took all of that on and
You were
agreed with
taking it.
him.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then I was like, as he was saying things, I was like, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Okay, I can take XYZ, but I can't take A, B, and C. Because A, B, and C is not making sense. Like,
Yeah.
so let's back this up. And I'm like, that's not on me. Like so you were the reason, not me, not her, you.
Mhm.
And you're like, I remember you taking this very long pause.
Oh, yeah, it was a very pregnant pause. Huh, huh,
But
yeah. Oh,
in that retrospect, it wasn't just like in that. I was like, okay, I can see where I did some wrong things, but I'm not the evil. Like I'm
yeah. Well, I was
sitting here
yeah, I was
calculating.
blaming everybody for where I was at, for the position that I was in. It was everybody else's fault that I was broken and in this mindset. Um, but in reality, I had just as much responsibility as everyone else.
Oh, yeah. It's
Mhm.
so easy when you have somebody who is the family scapegoat.
Mhm.
And like I said, Eric, it was often my sister would bite herself and then blame me. And it was so easy for them to believe until I started losing teeth. And it wasn't until I started losing teeth and my sister was still biting herself and then blaming me that they even realized.
Look at
But
the
even
teeth print.
still, right,
Yeah.
even still, she cut her hair. I was the one that got spanked. I was the one that got, I didn't cut anybody's hair. It was
Oh
her.
god.
But I got punished, and so it's easy to vilify somebody when in the household and in the family dynamic, there's that one person who always does the bad thing. Are they always doing the bad thing,
Mhm.
or are they made to look like they're always the bad one?
Yeah.
And I have to be very conscious about that with my children. I have one who's very stubborn,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
who is very independent and self think. And does she do things? Does she break the rules? Yes, absolutely. And does she lie about it? Yeah. But my oldest, the good one, isn't so
Mhm.
good. She's just doing different things in a different way. And I have to be very conscious of that to make
Mhm.
sure that I am not constantly going, you're the one that's always doing the bad thing and you're the one that's always doing the right thing, because that's not fair. Because they don't. And
Yeah.
so it's very,
It's gotta be difficult as a parent
it
to be
is.
conscious of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's always going to be a villain in your story, and you are always going to be. And I think that is, in the end, that's reality. That's reality. You can't help it. You can try. You can do your best to manage it. But there are bad guys. There are absolutely bad people in this world. And there are really good people who are given bad reputations.
Yeah.
But in the end, most 90% of the people in this world are just people making choices, good, bad, or indifferent. And they make bad choices and they make good choices. And there are no heroes and villains. And just like you said, it's about perspective. And some people can be making a good choice that is right for them that you don't agree with. That doesn't make them a bad person. It just means you don't agree with them, and that's okay. And then that's up to you with how you want to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
And the church didn't teach us that.
No. We were taught black and white and not the nuance. But life is full of nuance.
Yay, trauma!
There it is. that's our waking up villains episode.
Okay, well, I really this wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was. But I know I said this was my last question.
But you have another question. Okay.
Your parents came to visit. I have to know how it went. Because I haven't talked to you since, because like you
I know,
sort of kept,
because they left like right before we started.
Yeah, and so. Like you kept sort of quiet while they were there, except for like the one instance. I have to know. I have to know how it went.
So you want the short or the not so short? You want the short? You just want the short version?
I don't care.
Okay.
It's our podcast. We do what we want. I don't give a fuck.
All right, there you go. So to make a long story short, so we're.
I'm putting that on his grave. I for real am putting that on his grave.
So my
this
older
is
brother,
his short story. He made a long story short.
Oh my god, dark humor right there. Yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, and like my dad, he often says to make a long story short and tells the whole story like in detail,
and then goes on for another half an hour.
Yeah.
So she comes in. The first words out of her mouth. She walks in. You know what this. You know where this is. She walks in and she looks towards the living room. First words out of her mouth are, "Where's the Christmas tree?" What are you talking about? Well, I just thought you'd leave the Christmas tree up. Why? Well, because we're having our Christmas thing. It's, they came up for our Christmas because I told them not to come up for the day itself. And she's like, well, this was our Christmas thing. So why? I figured you would just leave the Christmas tree up. But Mom, it's like weeks after Christmas. Yeah, but whose fault is that? Yeah.
Okay, anyway, go ahead. I'm angry for you.
No, so that's what I was like. Mom, it doesn't matter. I take I take everything down on New Year's Day. That's what I do. Well, I was just hoping you had the tree up. At any point, did you ask me to keep it up? At any point, did you go, hey, do you mind keeping the Christmas tree up? At no point did you communicate your expectation of the Christmas tree to me. You just assumed it. Yeah. Your face has subtitles.
It is. Keep going. I'm just gonna hold this here.
So just to remind everyone, there it is. But that was the first thing out of her mouth. First conversation when she walked in the door was all about that. She's like, so where am I gonna put the stuff? I don't care. Put it wherever. Put it in the corner. So I was like, okay, you know what? Wait, I've got a solution for you, Mom. I will fix this. And I went into the closet and I grabbed a little Debbie Christmas tree cake and I set it in the corner and I said, there, you can put your presents under the tree.
You know what? You know what? Might be one of the few things where I'm like, I'm mad proud of you. Good job. All right, cool.
Mm-hmm. She didn't appreciate that too much.
I appreciate that. Great. I would have laughed. I would have been like,
oh my god. So yeah, so we did the so it was overall it was good. But it was an overnight thing. That was one of the boundaries, the things that I set when I talked to her about it weeks ago was, when they visit, I was like, okay, you guys can visit, but it's gonna have to be after Christmas. It's gonna have to be this specific weekend or later. And she didn't like that. She's like, that's so yeah, that's a whole nother the conversation that we had. So I was like, if you're coming in, this is what it will be. If this is what you want, I mean, if you're okay with that, fine. If you're not okay with it, then you're not okay. Then okay, then it is what it is. It'll be some other time. So, but overall, it was fine. We ended up playing a game because she's been wanting to play. She's been wanting to play games, and her idea of playing a game is like roll for it or Uno. I'm like, no, we're not playing that. So I was like, we're gonna break out the better stuff. So we ended up playing Runes and Regulations. But it was good for the most part. And then she took over my kitchen this morning.
of course she did.
Which is she made cookies. She burned half of them, but it's fine.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but then you know what she pulled? The thing that she pulled before she left?
What?
I need a or no, it was I get a hug. She pulled the I get a hug thing again.
That bothers you so much.
It does. Well, it does because she feels entitled to it. It's not, hey, can I have a hug? It's not even just opening her arms up for a hug. It's the I get a hug. Like, you will give me a hug. To me, it's just that very entitlement feel to it. I'm like, so I was like, so I gave her a hug because I was already going to give her a hug, and she said that. So I pulled back. I'm like, no, you can ask for a hug. No, I get a hug. I'm your mom. I get a hug. Like, I thought we were past that.
Oh, that's cute, Sean. You think
I
you
know.
can change her.
So, but yeah. So then I just kept my distance. I was like, because I know she wanted. Yeah. No. So it was good overall. Yeah, exactly. But it was 24 hours. It was up on Saturday, back on Sunday. And I told her, I was like, I've got a podcast at 1:00. I'm doing this podcast. So, but my dad is like, so is your podcast on Twitch? Yes, it is.
Yeah, please subscribe
He's
to
gonna-
our podcast.
Yeah.
Please subscribe to it. How dare you?
I mean, if you want to, it's at your own risk. I don't think y'all. Yeah, I don't think you guys are mentally and emotionally ready to handle this podcast. So,
all right, and with that, we're gonna get out of here.
Yeah.
I got chores to do and adulting. It's fine.
boo. Boo. That's no fun.
Fun times.
All right.
I actually think I'm gonna game stream tonight. I know I say that on Sundays, but like I actually have a weekend where it's like work is not pressing. So I know.
We have
hello.
right at the end. Right at the end.
Yeah. So I think I might game stream tonight. Do you want to game stream tonight? Maybe we can
would love to.
convince Jay and Ed Sheeran. How you doing? So yeah, I think that
Let's game stream tonight.
Your game stream.
Let's do it. We haven't done it in a while. Let's do it.
We haven't. Can we do Sea of Thieves?
Ooh, that'd be fun. Ooh, that
I
would
haven't played
fun.
Fallout in a hot minute too.
I haven't played any of them.
Yeah, but I'm working my way to try to make him Pirate Legend. So
I know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's go pirate. Let's go pirate. Let's do that. I'm sure Jay will be happy for pirating, right, Jay?
I know. Jay.
All right. So look for notifications.
We might all go live on our own channels.
We might. Yeah. We'll see.
But you might actually get affiliate, Sean.
No, I'm so far from that. I'm so far from affiliate. It's not even funny. Yeah. So let me see. I was gonna see if I could connect to Touch Portal real quick and.
Oh my God! All right, we're gonna go.
Yeah, we're gonna go. Bye.
All right, bye, guys.
Did you really just high five over me? Right
No,
now?
we didn't.
Okay, we're live.
Hey.
Hello.
Last week.
You don't even do that well from the front seat.
Okay.
The bear is coming with the carpet spoon.
That's a straight up PBR for the table.
Yeah.
I think it called.
She ain't judging us at all.